All right, folks, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. I figured I'd wake you all up. So, Madam Clerk, will you take the roll, please?
Councilmember Bill De La Pena is absent. Councilmember Engler.
Here.
Councilmember Jones.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Adam.
Here.
Mayor McCoy.
Present. We don't have any requests for continuance of any public hearing or agenda item, so I will head to the microphone for special presentation. I'd like to ask Leah Lacayo to please come up. She's from the Ventura County Fair, and to join me here at the podium. Are you here? There you are. Hello, dear. Hello. Thank you for coming to present us with the 2019 Ventura County Fair poster. We look forward to this every year. You guys do a great job.
Thank you.
That one looks kind of cool, too. All right. Some have been iffy, but this one, solid.
Gee, thanks.
And we also, as you present us with that, will you tell us about the fair and everything that pertains to it?
I
So
will
take
be
over. Here you go,
Happy
dear.
to do that.
All right. You want me to hold that?
If you would, please.
Okay, I'll do it like this.
Perfect. Door number one.
Yeah, let me bring it down.
All right. This poster was designed by an 18-year-old girl from Santa Paula. Her name is Dariana Vasquez. She has submitted posters last year. There were two other. It was a runner-up, and a third place, who also gets placed on various fair publications. This poster is done in pencil. As you can see, it frames beautifully. It has surfboards, the animals, the Ferris wheel, the ocean, and the islands. So it's a real representation of the Ventura County. I would like to invite you all to attend the fair. We have a fabulous lineup. We have many days. We have $4 days this year. We have Senior Day. We have Military Day. Our bands, our first band is Styx. We have Martina McBride, Melissa Etheridge, and the rest of them are younger than I. I don't know who they are, most of them. It's ex-ambassadors, Brothers Osborne, a rodeo, George Thorogood, and a few others. But I invite you all to the fair for $12. You can have the most fun for 12 days. We don't charge extra for our concerts, so we look forward to seeing you there.
May we take a picture with you?
Absolutely.
Would you guys come on up? We'll take a picture. Come on, let's go stand on the red carpet. Make it
Red carpet.
Make sure you make it out to the fair this year. My family makes a point of that. I'd encourage you all to do the same. Now I'd like to introduce Rudy Gonzalez, Government Relations Manager from Southern California Edison, and he's going to discuss the SCE's wildfire mitigation plan. Rudy, come on up. You're welcome. Take over.
Thanks so much.
Good seeing you.
Good evening, Mayor McCoy, council members, Mr. Powers. Thanks for the opportunity to share information on Edison's wildfire mitigation plan tonight. Although I'm here to discuss wildfire mitigation, it's important to understand that fires and power outages are only some of the emergencies that can happen here in Southern California, as was evidenced by this past weekend's earthquake activity in Ridgecrest. That's why we will all have to take on the responsibility to make sure local governments, businesses, and families are prepared for any emergency. For those that grew up in Southern California, we were all used to late summer through fall fire season. What was once referred to as forest fires are now called wildfires. There are several factors contributing to the frequency and intensity of wildfires, including years of drought, bark beetles, and hazardous fuel buildup. 10 of the most destructive fires in California's history have occurred since 2015. Earlier this year, Edison filed a wildfire mitigation plan with the California Public Utilities Commission, or CPUC. The plan is intended to address and greatly reduce fire ignitions caused by utility infrastructure. It is also intended to further fortify the electric system against the increasing threat of extreme conditions driven by climate change and the impacts of wildfire if they occur. One of the first things Governor Newsom did when he took office was to create a wildfire strike force. In mid-April, the strike force issued a report that set out steps that state must take to reduce the incidence and severity of wildfires. In addition to renewing the state's commitment to clean energy, it outlines actions to hold the state's utilities accountable for their behavior and potential changes to stabilize California's utilities to meet the energy needs of and customers and the economy. Early last year, the CPUC issued maps that are designed specifically for the purpose of identifying areas where there's an increased risk for utility-associated wildfires. The map identifies 3-tier levels, with Tier 3 considered the highest risk area. Approximately 1/3 of our service territory is considered high-risk fire areas. As you can see on this map, the entire East Ventura County area falls under the Tier 3 high fire risk area designation. Fire needs 3 elements to start: oxygen, heat, and fuel. The goal of Edison's wildfire mitigation strategy is to minimize the chances our equipment become the ignition source for fire. This includes removing the fuel side through our vegetation management program. Senate Bill 901 was passed in 2018 and requires all utilities to prepare and submit a wildfire mitigation plan. Our plan is broken into 2 major categories aligned to our long-term strategy: operational practices and infrastructure improvements. A major aspect of our plan is installation of insulated wire or covered conductor, which is foundational to reducing the leading cause of utility ignitions. To date, we have installed nearly 200 circuit miles of covered conductor in high fire risk areas. In addition, we have installed fault detecting equipment that will de-energize lines, reducing the likelihood of an ignition. We've stepped up our inspection program and are in the process of addressing findings resulting from these inspections. Our enhanced inspections include the use of helicopters and drones. While undergrounding of all above-ground power lines seems like a logical solution, there are pros and cons associated with this consideration, including costs. The installation of covered conductor in the highest risk areas is a more cost-effective solution. Situational awareness is an integral part of emergency management. We are strategically deploying weather stations to collect weather data. These stations are installed on our equipment. Our staff meteorologists will use the data we collect to help us make informed decisions based on very local conditions. We are also in the process of installing high-definition cameras on our towers to monitor wildfire activity. In the next 2 years, we will install up to 160 high-def cameras that will allow us to achieve 90% visual coverage of our high fire risk area. This slide shows the view from the first camera we installed on Santiago Peak in Orange County. It captured a view of last year's Holy Fire that burned in Orange and Riverside counties. Our public safety agency partners, as well as the public, can view the wildfire cameras on the alertwildfire.org website. Public safety staff and the public can view data from Edison and other weather stations at mesowest.utah.edu. We've increased the frequency of vegetation patrols in the most severe high-risk areas to identify potential hazards. We inspect nearly 1 million trees a year and trim nearly 700,000 trees annually. We have implemented a 12-foot tree clearance from distribution lines in high fire risk areas to ensure annual growth will not impact our minimum clearance requirements. Under certain circumstances, Edison will proactively de-energize circuits to minimize the chance of our equipment being the ignition of a fire. The frequency of public safety power shutoffs, or PSPS, depends on weather conditions. We realize these shutoffs would be a major disruption to customers. However, we believe public safety benefits outweigh the impacts. We base the decision to activate PSPS on real-time information from trained personnel positioned locally in high fire risk areas and input from Edison fire management experts. We take information from the weather stations as well as input from state and local fire authorities and emergency management personnel. We consider if mandatory or voluntary evacuation orders are in place and the impact of service interruptions on essential service facilities like hospitals or emergency operations centers. Since we will be evaluating conditions at a very granular level, it's very unlikely we would have the entire city out of power. This slide describes the process related to customer notifications if a PS event is likely. We start tracking potential implementation of a PSPS event 4 to 7 days ahead. If conditions persist, we stand up our incident management team at our own emergency operations center in Irwindale 3 days from a potential PSPS event. At that time, we notify county operational areas of potential activation. We continue to track, and if conditions continue to warrant, we send out our initial widespread notification to potentially impacted customers 48 hours from a possible PSPS event. Notifications also go out to local governments, first responders, the State Office of Emergency Management, and other emergency managers. At that time, we also begin notification to essential customers like water providers and hospitals. We also reach out to our critical care customers that are on some type of life-saving device. Again, we continue to track weather conditions. If certain conditions are met, we send out another mass notification to potentially impacted customers 24 hours out from implementation. Similar notifications are made after power is turned off. Because of the fluid situation, we cannot provide notification immediately prior to de-energization. As power is restored, we again notify customers. This is after Edison crews have inspected lines to make sure there's no damage or debris in the lines. This communication process is only effective if we are able to make contact with our customers. We encourage all residential and business customers to make contact with Edison and provide updated contact information so we can reach you when we need to. As I mentioned earlier, fires and power outages are only some of the emergencies that can happen here in Southern California. We encourage everyone to have a plan and be prepared. And this last page has useful information to help you prepare for any emergency and other issues covered in my presentation. I appreciate your time tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Council, any questions for Rudy? Go ahead, Bob. Councilmember Engler.
Yeah, thanks, Rudy, for what you're doing so far. I have some questions on notifications, especially for those folks who do have medically needed devices and that sort of thing. Are you aware of where all the people are? Do you have a list of them? Are you making specific contact with those people?
So we do have all our critical care customers coded. Those are individuals who are on some type of medical equipment that they need to survive. We have a special notification process for them. We'll reach out to them as we normally do, and if we don't get a response, we'll actually send someone to their homes. And we're working currently to be able to share that customer information with local governments in the event that you want to follow up with them as well. So there is a separate process associated with making contact with them personally.
So after you've shut the power down for the safety reasons, you would go out to their home just to make sure?
No,
or-
we actually notify them ahead of the de-energization. So we attempt to make contact with them 48 hours out, then 24 hours out, and if we're unsuccessful in making personal contact, we'll actually send someone to their home to notify them of the pending PSPS event.
Now, we do have homes that have multiple residents in them, are 6-bed places. You have those also on your list, and you make contact with them?
If they have a medical need for electricity, we would make contact with them personally, just as we do with the individual property owners.
In terms of contact, are you announcing on the radio, or how are you making those that reach out to the general community?
So that's why it's important that customers make contact with Edison and provide us information on their preferred method of contact. Most of us have landlines at home, and I don't know about you, but I answer mine maybe once out of 100 times, because we know that most people are, getting marketing calls at home. So if there's a preferred method like a cell phone or an email address, we encourage folks to contact our 800 number, 800-655-4555, and please provide us that contact information, because we want to be able to reach out to everyone. We're also going to be partnering with our local emergency operations folks. So if they have alert systems in place that we can tag on to, we'll utilize those as well.
One other quick question. Do you have any funding for anybody who needs to get battery backup for their medical devices? Is there any program you have for helping those people out?
Not that I'm aware of. I'm sorry, no.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. Anyone else? Thanks, Rudy.
Great. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. We have one more special presentation tonight. Patrick Cassidy from the theatrical artistic director from Five Star, and he's going to tell us about the upcoming West Side Story, a take on Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, right? Sharks and the Jets. And
That's right. Thank you, Mayor McCoy, City Council. It's such a pleasure to be here. I always look so forward to this moment, and I hope you guys love what we have in store. I want to talk about 3 specific things. On October the 12th at 8 p.m., the 3 resident companies, Five Star Theatricals, Pacific Festival Ballet, and New West Symphony are getting together, and we're going to do a 25th anniversary Hollywood on stage. Ballet, music, full orchestra on stage, some headlining performers that I'm going to remain nameless are going to perform. It's going to be an incredible salute to the music, to dance, and the theater in Hollywood on the screen. So I urge all of you guys to get tickets. It's going to be a wonderful evening. And of course, our 2019-20 season begins opening on October 18th with The Music Man. We have a star who is yet to be told yet, who's going to play Harold Hill, who we're going to announce on opening night of West Side Story, which is July 26th. But that's only then we're going to say. And then after that, in the spring, we're going to do Mamma Mia. Again, we're getting a star for that. And then Newsies, which will be the first production that has been done in this region about the 1897 newsboy strike. So that is our 2019-20 season. But before that, today, the reason why we're here, on July 26th, the most romantic musical, Leonard Bernstein and Stephen Sondheim's West Side Story, as you said, based on Romeo and Juliet, is going to open. We are so excited. It is an extraordinary story, an extraordinary cast, and we have 2 members today who are going to perform for you. Playing Tony is Brandon Keith Rogers. Playing Maria is Giselle Torres, accompanied by Chris Kimbler singing Tonight.
Only you, you're the only thing I see. else but you, heaven.
And there's nothing for me but Maria. Every sight that I see is Maria.
Tawny, Tawny.
Only you, every thought I'll ever know. Everywhere I go, you'll be.
Tonight, tonight, it all began tonight. I saw you and the world went away. Tonight, tonight, it's only you tonight. What you want, what you do, what you say.
Today, all day, I had the feeling a miracle would happen. I know now I was right, but here you are, and what was just a world is a star tonight.
Tonight, tonight, the world is full of light, with suns and moons all over the place. Tonight, tonight, the world is wild and bright, going mad, shooting sparks into space. Today, the world was just an address, a place for me to live in, no better than alright. But here you are, and what was just a world is a star tonight. Good night, good night. Sleep well, and when you dream, dream of me.
Well done.
Thank you, Mayor McCoy. Thank you, City Council. Please come up and see us on July 26th. Appreciate us being here.
Here, here. Thank you so much.
Mr. Mayor, I didn't know about these fringe benefits of being on the council. I wish you'd arrange for somebody every week. That'd be great.
We do what we can. All right. Madam Clerk, will you announce the public comments?
This is a time and place for public comments. A speaker card is available for those wishing to address the City Council regarding items on the agenda or on a subject within the city's jurisdiction. Speakers for the public hearing items shall be called and heard during the public hearing. All remarks should be addressed to the council as a whole, and all documents for City Council and the official record should be presented to the city clerk prior to speaking. Speakers are requested to state their name and community of residence for the record. Under state law, public comment matters may not be considered by the council unless listed on the agenda, but may be referred to the city manager for administrative follow-up. 7 individuals have presented cards, and pursuant to council standards, speakers are allowed 3 minutes. The yellow light displays when you have 1 minute remaining.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Again, folks, state your name and your city of residence would be gratefully received. How's that? We're going to begin tonight with Jennifer Schwabauer, and You have 3 minutes tonight because we have a limited number of speakers, so welcome. And then after Jennifer will be William Maple. Good evening.
Well, I have to say that's kind of a hard act to follow. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Jennifer Schwabauer. I'm the Executive Director of Manna Conejo Valley Food Bank. And I've actually come this evening for 2 reasons. One, to thank the city for their continued support through their grant programs that we benefit from greatly, and to let you know how we spend our funds. So as many of you know, the City Council has social service grants and then also community enhancement grants that we have received over numerous years. And the social service grant enables us to keep our pantry open throughout the year. It funds our refrigeration and our trucks and our partnerships with our retail partners. In our 2018-19 fiscal year, it enabled us to provide food of perishables and non-perishable foods to over 7,500 families in the Conejo Valley. And through the through the Community Enhancement Grant, which has an environmental component, that helps us partner with the grocery stores, and we are rescuing almost 40,000 pounds of perishable foods on an annual basis. And that money helps with that program. So those are fresh fruits and vegetables, dairy products, bakery, frozen items, so that our pantry can provide a well-rounded complement of foods, both perishable and non-perishable foods. So I've just, like I said, came here this evening to thank you for your support. We look forward to partnering with you again. There are over 15,000 food insecure households in Thousand Oaks alone, and we're reaching just a portion of those. And with continued funding and support from the city and other organizations, we will reach many, many more. So thank you again, and enjoy your summer recess.
Jennifer, thank you for all you do. As a council, we're just so grateful for all your efforts for the city. So thank you so much. William Maple, followed by Adam Haverstock. Hello, Mr. Maple.
Hello. William Maple, City of Newberry Park, members of the council, and Mayor McCoy. The Ventura County Cultural Heritage Board provided professional landmark evaluation services to the city for maybe a decade or so, and it resulted in about 10 landmarks, and we've lost a couple since then. Jungle Land was paved over to create the building we're in tonight, but also the Dos Vientos barns were demoed to make way for Dos Vientos development. And according to the city's current history website, says that the lumber was cataloged and is now in storage with the Conejo Valley Recreation and Park District. That note should probably be altered and updated to say that it was left to the elements and plundered until there was nothing left. I updated the County Cultural Heritage Board yesterday about the status at their public hearing. Timber School and the auditorium were both awarded city and county landmark status 15 years ago. Since then, the school district sold it to a developer, and the planning department agreed to rezone it from public to commercial, with the stipulation that they preserve the 2 landmarks. They remained abandoned for quite a while until they were vandalized, weeds grew, and the vagrants started finding a home in there, and the fire department had to come in and create some action. The developer had to board it up by city standards, and so far the weeds are about 3 foot tall again. The developer now has new plans to develop the site and would like to rezone it once again. Recently, there's been some discussion about the Jantz House, and I'm not sure if everyone understands throughout the community, but you are now our Cultural Heritage Board. You alone are the stewards of the roots of Thousand Oaks. Article 2 of our municipal code explains that your purpose is to promote economic and general welfare of the city by preserving and protecting landmarks, be they public or privately owned, in order to remind citizens, visitors, and tourists of the rich historic, cultural, and natural heritage of the Conejo Valley. Tonight, I ask the council to consider two things. I know you can't act on it, but please take this role seriously as our Cultural Heritage Board. This would mean proactive surveys of current, potential, and endangered landmarks. Also hold periodic and public hearings. Number two, I understand the current general plan is being reevaluated. Chapter 5 states, our cultural resources represent the history of the Conejo Valley. Ensuring their proper management and protection will contribute to the city's aesthetics, its civic pride, will provide a valuable link between the past and the future. Please keep these standards as they are and act on this section of the conservation element. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Maple. Adam Haverstock, followed by Mandy Jacob.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Adam Haverstock. I am the Director of Government Affairs and Tourism at the Greater Conejo Valley Chamber of Commerce. Just to give you a couple of updates from your chamber. First, I wanted to mention, I put it on the overhead here, the new issue of the Chamber's Conejo View magazine is out. This is the Chamber's quarterly business-to-business publication. It's distributed to businesses throughout the community and also at 80 different drop locations throughout Thousand Oaks, Westlake Village, and Agora Hills. The cover story we thought was very timely. It discusses the commercial rollout of the Clean Power Alliance initiative in Conejo Valley, and so there's some great information in there for businesses that have questions about that. There's a business profile of Cake Monkey Bakery in Thousand Oaks, and there's a great article about how to reach customers online with Google, so a great resource for local businesses. Tomorrow night, Wednesday, July 10th, there is going to be a mixer for our emerging leaders, which is a program for young professionals under the age of 40 in the Conejo Valley. It's going to be from 6 to 7:30 p.m. at Brendan's Irish Pub in Newbury Park. And that is open to young professionals aged 21 to 39. They do not need to be Chamber of Commerce members. Any young professionals in the community are welcome to attend, so please let them know. They're welcome to come there. And it's free. I forgot to mention that, although you're on the hook for your own drinks. There is a new California law that is going to require that all businesses with 5 or more employees do mandatory harassment training by January 1st of 2020. The good news is California Chamber of Commerce has created this training available online and in partnership with local chambers of commerce. And so businesses in the community that have 5 or more employees can contact the chamber and they can get this training. It's for both all of your employees, and also there's a 2-hour supervisor training that is for your supervisors as well. And they can reach the Chamber of Commerce at our website, ConejoChamber.org, to get more information. It's open to all businesses, but if you are a chamber member, you get a discount, which is great. And then finally, a couple updates on tourism. The Tourism Improvement District is focused a lot on conferences and events this year. And the reason for that is the number one reason that millennials choose to travel is to attend an event. And so we are trying to focus on events this year to attract those millennials that take great photos and Instagram and things like that. We did a great partnership with Oak Heart Country Music Festival to promote that event in the Los Angeles area. We also did the same thing with the recent, very successful Titanic Live event that happened a couple weeks ago, and we think we were very happy to be a partner to help make that event successful. And unless there are any questions, that does conclude my report this evening.
Thank you, Adam. Mandy Jacob, followed by Paige Nielsen.
Hi, City Council. I also just wanted to update you on what Ventura County Issue Reforms has been doing over the past 2 weeks, even though last week was kind of a vacation for everybody. We managed to meet with Jackie Irwin in Camarillo, and we're trying to set up a one-on-one with her for half an hour this coming weekend. We were also really grateful to meet with Mayor McCoy with the time he spent with our group just when we were able to air our concerns. And of course, if there are any other councillors that would like to meet with us, we'd love to meet with you as well, one-on-one. Tomorrow we have a radio interview with KPFK 90.7 in LA, and after that we will be addressing the Conejo Simi Moore Park realtors. And they obviously are very worried about how the rollout of the small cell facilities is going to affect their bottom line and housing prices. So that will be interesting. And as I mentioned last time, we've always got new cities adding to the mix. So the latest one now is Moore Park. After Moore Park, we had been working with Santa Barbara, and they actually have a coalition out there. So their most active group, Montecito, now has come in, and Goleta. And that's really exciting for us. But besides the cities now that we're working with, our team, really, we have great masterminds in this team. You know, you've obviously been addressed by Professor Trevor Marshall, who was one of the contributors of the 200 scientists that were part of the BIO initiative that lectures all over the world. And then Dr. Carol Taketa, who's also addressed you, who co-authored the smoking, she wasn't the smoking, it was the Surgeon General's chapter on smoking. And then the latest person that's decided to join us is Dr. Gunnar Hauser. He was the man who supplied all the evidence about the firefighters' brains being affected by the EMF, and there was that law then that was passed that all fire stations now no longer have to have antennas. So we're really excited that he's joined us. And then, of course, always supported by Daphne Takova, who got Wi-Fi out of schools in the Supreme Court in Israel. And they, again, happy to consult with anyone free of charge. And obviously, we're growing because we've tapped into their sources of networks, and people are calling us up now, even about the 4G, complaining about they finally realized their burnout, their fatigue, the nausea, the migraines are all, directly related to this. And up until now, we haven't, the City of Thousand Oaks hasn't had anything, so we have to thank you for that, for staying those applications. And then the final thing that I'd like to submit to public comments, you know how I always come to you about amendments, so my speech wouldn't be complete without that, because this is from the law office of Mark Del Bianco, and they've been saying exactly what we've been saying. It's only 13 pages, and it's wonderful. I know you're also very interested in the Constitution, Mr. Jones, and whoever else wants to read it, to see all the different ways we can amend it.
Thank you, Mandy. Paige Nielsen is next, followed by Judy Bruce.
Good evening, thank you. People every day are calling me and sending me emails asking what to do about this issue of small cell sites. They are scared and feeling grateful that there's people in their communities that care. There's a growing realization that cities can do something about small cell facilities, and soon one of these cities we are helping will be the first to protect their residents. We have joined with Americans for Responsible Technology and are participating in a nationwide rally against 5G rollout on the corner of Hillcrest and Thousand Oaks on July 27th. Concerned citizens that want to get involved can follow vcir.net on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. On July 29th, we have another wireless radiation educational event with Daphne Takover in Ventura at Ventura City Library. On August 3rd, we will be having a fundraiser to help boost our media and outreach throughout California. Out of the respect for the council's time, we did not bring our speakers tonight. Besides the 20 to 30 speakers that we usually have with the council to protect, talking about protecting the residents, there are hundreds of other members that would like their voices heard. We have collected over 5,900 petitions and will continue to do so against the rollout of small cell facilities going throughout California. I want to thank you, the council, for bearing with us through this time of birth that we've all been learning the last 4 months. We have grown from one single person to a fully fledged organization in the 4 months, and we have been since we've been coming to you. We have a membership of over 280 concerned people that are constantly growing. For that reason, we are changing our name to the California Issue Reform, no longer Ventura County Reform. We look forward to working with you on this long term with our feet fully on the ground. And on June 27th, in case you didn't know, LA County turned on 5G through T-Mobile. It's more important now than ever to raise awareness about this vulnerable and undeniable risk that 5G poses to our health, property values, privacy, and security. All on Nextdoor, over hundreds of posts from Topanga Canyon, Palisades, Agora, Westlake, Lake Sherwood, Thousand Oaks. I said, Swans are dying in Lake Sherwood or have died. Birds are falling from the sky. Squirrels are on the ground. And other birds are just, when people are walking, they see these. And I've contacted the Audubon Society and the Fish and Wild Society and filled out mortality reports. I've educated them about what happened in the Netherlands when they tested 5G just at a park and 297 starling birds dropped from the sky. It's all on video. It's all public record. This is what's happening in our community since they turned on 5G in LA County. And I live in Westlake Village, and that part of it's Ventura County, but Lake Sherwood, the swans of teenage swans, they called them teen swans with a family, that was on Nextdoor. So I've been private messaging, and that's how I'm collecting people to gather. We're going to hopefully write an article about it with the Acorn, and Daphne Tackover is going to help us because she has the reports of what these invisible radiation waves will do to the birds, the bees, the animals, and us. So thank you.
Thank you, Paige. Judy Bruce, followed by Vadim Manzos.
Judy Bruce, Simi Valley.
Hello.
The federal regulation you propose, 18133, which purportedly imposed upon the public, is not published in the Code of Federal Regulations, CFRs, as positive federal law. In fact, there is no congressional act in the United States law that compels any city to accept 5G wireless technology anywhere within its borders. But they are fooling everyone that they have created a law. If you don't have a legal sense to understand how they impact the public, then you will follow down the path everyone else has done, a rule that you don't have to follow because it's not law. Commercial entities do not make law. Sprint, AT&T do not make law. They must follow the rules of Congress. So far, Congress has made a rule for them to follow. That's Title 47, which are administrative rules between the FTC and the telecom companies. The FTC has complete control over the telecom's commercial activity in terms of who gets a license, who doesn't, et cetera. If someone tells you you've got to do something or you are forbidden to do something, have them give you the statute and verse of the so-called law. Then do one of two things. See if it exists, and then if it does exist, see if it applies to you and your circumstances. For example, the rule that you have to comply with is the ADA rules, federal, state, and city. They have an access board which sets standards for EM sensitivity. Interestingly, the order gives no guidance on what might be a reasonable spacing distance between wireless facilities. So why would you put them at unsafe distances of 250 feet? It's doubtful that any city attorney read that part. Now, what about the other lawsuits? Well, according to our legal researcher, these are not lawsuits. The League of Cities lawsuit is not a lawsuit. He does not know why all these cities are on that docket. They lack standing. They are not a telecom company, and they should not be in that venue making an argument whatsoever. He has read the pleading. It's an administrative proceeding in the Ninth Circuit. The FCC is trying to mandate a law that does not exist. That is not their duty. They are subjecting us to EM radiation with these towers, and the government is allowing this. The U.S. government has terribly failed the American people by not acting on the very serious risks of its own science, long revealed. We're at a disgraceful place where industry's plans for further antenna densification may put our species at risk. Thank you.
Vadim Manzos.
Good evening, City Council and Mayor. My name is Vadim Manzos, resident of Newbury Park since 2002, which is 17 years. Local beekeeper. By the way, in unison with Paige Nielsen said, I've noticed this year and actually switched from my regular activity of beekeeper to swarm removal services just because people call me all the time knowing that I'm a beekeeper. And what I've noticed, by the way, I just came down from the ceiling, from the roof of one gentleman here in Dos Vientos. All the swarms are small. And as from beekeeping's point of view, it indicates that they swarm more often than usual. I don't know if you noticed that. And that's how they protect themselves. Once they're abused by varroa mite or any other diseases, they swarm. This year is just unparalleled what we've had before. And then it's it's a method of their survival. That's why I keep searching the net, and I'd like to talk about the same issue and why telecoms, for example, rushing the employment of small cell facilities as close as every 20, 30 feet throughout the cities. Would you believe me if the answer would be 6G? It's true. There have been numerous studies that have touted the downfall of 5G simply because the exorbitant infrastructure needed to avoid its inefficient gaps in coverage, not to mention what an aesthetic eyesore 5G is. I've heard the first whispering of the technical channels that 5G may never work and that rollout may actually secretly pause. Telecoms can then keep putting 4G small cells outside homes to get better phone location data. They want to track your every walking movement so that information can be resold to the highest bidder, as if the telecoms aren't making enough money as it. Skipping the installation of the 9,600 small cell facilities altogether and waiting for 6G in only 12 months looks like the best plan for Thousand Oaks. Thus, we preserve our beautiful city and don't deal with the health effects of pulsed micro-radiation 30 feet from our homes. On one YouTube video, for example, I've seen it shows that just 400 6G satellites that will be in orbit in December 2019 this year will have world coverage, way more efficient than outdated 5G. And the good news is that the signals from satellites will be weak, just enough to communicate with the home antenna. They will give around 100,000 lower radiation levels at the Earth's surface than the quietest areas, Thousand Oaks, and millions of times less signal than within half a mile of cell tower, tens of millions less than small cell tower in your street. So please make conclusions. Thank you.
Thank you, Vadim. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. Thank you for taking time to come down. Now that'll bring us to our consent calendar. There's no follow-up with the city manager. So recommendations, Councilmember Jones, did you want to pull an item?
Yeah, I'd like to, I have no problem with D, but I'd just like to pull it to discuss it briefly.
Okay. 7D.
I'll move the other consent items except for D.
We have a motion. Before we do that, let me just add, there was a written statement card stating I don't think a stop sign is necessary at, is that Hart Glen? Landon Grove? Hart Glen and Landon Grove, and that's covered in 7R of the consent calendar. So, Madam Clerk, will you prepare the vote?
The motion carries 4-0 with Councilmember Bill Dela Pena absent.
Item 7D for discussion.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to just ask the city manager if perhaps he would have a little knowledge on the schedule of these meetings that are going to start in the near future, I believe, on the planning for the city. Do you have any information?
We do, and we actually had a meeting earlier today where we're working on schedule and outreach, and Mr. Town is up there and can kind of speak generally. In broad terms, Councilmember Jones, our outreach efforts, this is going to be a 2-year process, the general plan itself, but the community outreach and public meetings portion will begin in earnest later this summer, but really into the fall and continuing for the year ahead. But I'll let Mr. Town speak with more detail.
Thank you. In terms of public outreach for the general plan update, we actually began that very recently with some initial interviews with key stakeholders in the community, representatives of, for instance, Los Robles Hospital and CLU. But that's just the kickoff. We'll be conducting a very robust outreach effort, which will include focus groups, pop-up events, workshops, and other events over the next, although it will stretch 2 years, the heart of that will actually be taking place this fall and into early 2020. So we have begun that outreach, and it will
Do we
continue to
have a
pick up
tentative
speed.
schedule as yet for these outreach meetings so that the public can?
So we do
be
not
aware
have
of it?
dates and times set yet, Councilmember Jones, but our intent is to actually come back to the council. We'll be doing an update for you on where things are and laying all that out and doing a fairly robust marketing and outreach campaign to let folks know we want broad attendance at these events. And so we will be doing through social media, advertising in the local papers, and so on. But we intend to come back before the council with an informational update to lay all that out for you.
When do you think you'll be doing that?
One of the first couple meetings upon return.
Okay, I've just been hearing from some constituents that are wondering, because they want to be involved in this, are these meetings going to be held in different locations around town or here at City Hall? Or?
No, they will be, well, they'll be held in both locations, but a big part of the outreach is to bring the general plan update out to the community through pop-up events, which have been very successful in the past. We conducted these as part of the downtown core master plan outreach. We had pop-up events, for instance, at farmers markets, at CLU, at the library, and they were very well attended.
What is our method of notifying the public?
Well, we will be providing information on our website. These pop-up events are designed to actually take the project out to residents where they're conducting their normal business so that they can easily participate rather than having to attend a scheduled meeting.
And if I may add to that, Councilmember Jones, whenever we do an outreach effort, certainly of this magnitude, we have a pretty robust and diverse marketing campaign. So it ranges from direct mail to web to social media to surveys that will be conducted and getting out into the community to participate in these events. And just to give the council a sense of timing, obviously this is a major, large scope project. The first phase of the project is information gathering. So I have a consultant team that's been working to gather all of the documents in the city's history up until this point in time. And so there's been quite a bit of that back-end structural foundational work that has to happen before we can really dig into the project itself. And so that's the phase we're in right now, beginning to transition into the public phase this fall.
When do you anticipate the public meetings, the pop-ups, et cetera, are going to begin?
I anticipate that they will begin this fall, after your return, September.
September?
Yes.
And will there be like a kickoff, a grand announcement that will clue in the general public here of the city that knows that this is a big deal, obviously.
It is a very big deal.
We haven't done this for 50, I guess we finished in 1970. The first run at this. So this is like 50 years ago. So I think we ought to do a lot to, advertise it to get everybody involved.
And I would concur.
So we're going to do that.
That's correct.
Do you have could you just give me a little knowledge of how we're going to advertise this to the public?
Well, as Mr. Powers mentioned, we'll be taking a multimedia approach, especially social media, getting the word out through multiple platforms actually through our city manager's office. We already have information on our website. We'll be providing specific dates for all of these events based on the schedule that we are finalizing with the consultant right now. So it will be on our website. It will be out in the community through multiple media. We will let the local newspapers know. And that should get the word out. And you're right, we have a tremendous amount of interest in the project. A number of individuals have already indicated their interest in participating.
Well, I'm looking forward to it, and I'll keep after you. Okay, thank you.
Councilmember Jones, would you like to make a motion for item 7D?
Yes, I'd like to move item D, is it?
7D, yes.
7D for approval.
Madam Clerk, will you prepare the vote?
The motion carries 4-0 with Councilmember Bill Dela Pena absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. And now for item 8A, Madam Clerk, will you please announce the public hearing?
Hearing advertised as required by law is open to consider Agenda Item 8A regarding Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act public hearing and action related to Bella Vista Apartments, 2011 to 2025 Los Feliz Drive. And at this time, we do not have any public speakers.
We do have one, I believe. Rick Schroeder. Oh, for questions. Okay, thank you. Lynn Oshida, Housing Coordinator, take it away. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. The overall purpose of tonight's hearing is to approve financial actions in coordination with many mansions and the California Municipal Finance Authority, or CMFA, for the new 2019 bond-funded improvements at Bella Vista Apartments. A key part of this process is a Tax Equity and Fiscal Responsibility Act, or TEFRA hearing, which allows the public to comment on the issuance of the new bonds at Bella Vista. Bella Vista is located on Los Feliz Drive between Herbs Road and Caneo School Road. The 72-unit apartment is located on 4.9 acres. This is an aerial photo. Bella Vista is located between the Shadows Apartments and Ranch Mobile Home Park, and across the street from the Area Housing Authority's Garden View Terrace Apartments and Many Mansions Hacienda de Feliz Apartments. This is a current picture of Bella Vista Apartments. The Bella Vista Apartments were built in 1969. In 2005, the former redevelopment agency assisted Many Mansions with the acquisition and rehabilitation of Bella Vista Apartments with the condition that the property remain affordable for 55 years until the year 2060. This slide details the 2005 former redevelopment assistance. In addition, from 2005 to 2013, the Community Development Block Grant and the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act grant were used to replace the HVAC system at Bella Vista. In August of this year, Many Mansions will be seeking new tax-exempt bond financing to conduct a substantial rehabilitation at Bella Vista and to preserve its affordability for 55 years. The purpose of these improvements is to increase the energy efficiency at Bella Vista and to create accessible paths of travel with ramps and railings throughout the project. The renovation includes replacements of roofs, windows, sliders, and improvements to the parking lots. The city has a joint partnership agreement with CMFA, which assists local governments and nonprofits with tax-exempt financing. The CMFA board are not elected officials and therefore cannot hold a TEFRA hearing. Since Bella Vista is located in Thousand Oaks, this council is the appropriate local government body to hold the TEFRA hearing. City Council has conducted similar TEFRA hearings for affordable housing projects in the past, including the Shadow Hills Apartments and Villa Garcia Apartments. With the new tax-exempt bond financing, Many Mansions will be forming a new limited partnership where Many Mansions will be the managing general partner. This Many Mansions affiliate will be paying off the existing 2005 bond with the purpose of securing long-term affordable housing and addressing the needed improvements. CMFA will be issuing the new bonds. The city will not be responsible for repayment or the administration of the new bonds. With the new bond, the city's loan documents require modifications, and Many Mansions request that the city terminate the 2005 bond regulatory agreement and cancel early the $1 million RDA grant upon new bond financing. Many Mansions request that the city extend the $4 million redevelopment loan to 55 years, which is already secured on the property with a deed of trust. Many mansions request authorization for the city manager to finalize and execute city documents related to the 2019 Bella Vista project, and that the city amend the bond service fee of $10,000 per year to an annual administration fee of $5,000. Since CMFA will be the new bond issuer, the city's administrative costs would be lower. The 2019 project will also involve the affordable conditions on the project to be extended for 55 years until 2074, and more units be allowed to be at the low income level. 56 units as compared to 23 units today. This slide summarizes staff's recommendation for the Bella Vista Affordable Apartments. With this, the community development staff and the finance staff, along with many mansions and CMFA, are here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Lynn. Any questions from the council? Doesn't appear as such. And we have no public comments. So, close the hearing? Motion to close the hearing? Oh, we don't. We close it anyway. Close the hearing. Now we're going to vote. Councilmember Adam.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, TEFRA says that for these bonds to be tax exempt, an elected body has to hear this issue, and that's exactly what we're doing tonight. It's important because we're going to rehab Bella Vista. I see Rick Schrader up there. He's nodding his head. City's not liable for any of the repayment of the bonds, and we're assured that the housing will remain low income, affordable for the next 55 years or so. So I will move 8A with all those facts in consideration.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Adam. Madam Clerk, will you prepare the vote?
The motion carries 4-0 with Councilmember Bill Dela Pena absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. That brings us to item 9A, department reports. And we have, is that correct? Yeah. Leanne Nielsen, the chair of the TO Arts. Welcome.
Thank you. Mayor McCoy, City Council members, on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Thousand Oaks Alliance for the Arts, it is my pleasure to present our report covering TO Arts operations and programming for the last 6 months ending June 30th. Tonight, I will provide you with a brief overview of some of the highlights contained in our report. The TO Arts Advisory Council is comprised of 22 leaders drawn from all sectors of the local community. A biannual meeting of the TO Arts Advisory Council was held in March, and members participated in a survey and discussion to establish 2-year funding priorities for TO Arts programs and activities. The Advisory Council's recommendations were then incorporated into the funding discussion at the March TO Arts Board Planning Retreat. With regards to finances, the board received and approved the annual audit detailing TO Arts' financial activities for the period July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2018. A copy of the auditor's report is attached to our report. The board has prepared a fiscal year 2019-20 operating budget of $970,421, which is a significant increase over our previous year and is reflective of the ongoing growth of TO Arts programs and activities. The budget will be presented to the board for approval at our meeting this Thursday, July 11th. A copy of the approved budget will be provided to the city following the board's approval. TO Arts also maintains separate budgets for CAP Presents programming and for the concessions operation for the Kavli Theater and Share Forum. The combined operations, programming, and concessions budgets for fiscal year 19-20 total $3.68 million. In March, the board and staff held a special planning retreat to discuss the potential impact of the softening economy on future programs and activities. At the retreat, the board established funding priorities to guide the board's future financial decisions and to prudently manage the expansion of TO Arts programming and activities. The Angels of the Arts are currently planning a special 25th anniversary edition of their popular table decorating luncheon. In past years, this event has raised over $30,000 to support our arts education programs. TO Arts has reached an agreement with a donor to purchase the naming rights for the artist's autograph wall that will be unveiled in the Kavli Theater lobby during the 25th anniversary activity. This represents a financial contribution to TO Arts of $250,000 in exchange for naming rights for a period of 10 years. And since we submitted our report to you, we are excited to inform you that another donor has stepped forward to purchase the naming rights for the History Wall for an additional $250,000 in exchange for naming rights for a period of 10 years. TO Arts held its second annual Producers Club Luncheon in March. This is a non-traditional fundraising event where TO Arts invites members of the community to attend a free luncheon to learn more about our organization's arts education activities. Contributions and pledges from attendees at this year's function exceeded $60,000, with 58 first-time donors to TO Arts. There's been a lot of activity with regards to our focus on arts education. In collaboration with the Conejo Schools Foundation, TO Arts brought 4 speakers from the CAP Presents National Geographic Live series into local schools over the last 6 months. Students learned about exploring caves and high mountains, sea life in the Arctic regions, photographing wildlife, and the role of women rulers in ancient Egyptian society. In February, in partnership with California Lutheran University, the Kingsman Shakespeare Company presented The Tempest for 349 students here in the Scheer Forum. In March, TO Arts continued our series of storybook stage productions by presenting the Experimental Theater Company's production of Journey to Oz in the Scheer Forum to 766 elementary students. TO Arts also partnered with Art Trek to put on a recycled art workshop as part of our ongoing Art with Heart series of community events. The workshop provided families with an opportunity to create art utilizing common everyday items. Under the CAP Presents banner, TO Arts presented 38 performances in the past fiscal year. These performances attracted 33,698 patrons and generated $2.2 million in ticket sales revenue. Some of the artists presented included Daughtry, Chicago, Kebmo, Kenny G, Brian Wilson, Rodney Kroll, Lily Tomlin, Body Traffic, and the Tenors. In January, TO Arts partnered with REO Speedwagon to present 2 sold-out benefit concerts to raise funds for the victims of the Borderline shooting and the Woolsey and Hill fires. In addition to REO Speedwagon, the concerts featured Richard Marx, Eddie Money, and Five for Fighting. Over $360,000 was raised for the victims' funds from the 2 concerts. TO Arts provided over $290,000 in funding to the city's Theaters Fund account to underwrite the Bank of America Performing Arts Center operations for fiscal year 18-19. The Dr. Raymond M. Olson Performance Grants program was established to provide local nonprofits with financial assistance to make usage of the theater facilities more accessible. Our board recently approved the distribution of $150,000 in performance grants for fiscal year 19-20 for the 3 residence companies and 8 local nonprofit arts organizations. Last fall, TO Arts launched a year-long project to create a brand identity and communications plan for the organization. The goal is to create a clear understanding of TO Arts' purpose and programs among local residents and Bank of America Performing Arts Center patrons. In February, the marketing committee adopted a core purpose statement for TO Arts to guide the branding component of the project. The purpose of TO Arts is to enrich lives and strengthen the fabric of the community through the cultivation and presentation of visual and performing arts at the Bank of America Performing Arts Center and beyond. The word beyond is important because TO Arts' long-term vision is to take our programming into the community. An example of that would be taking artists into local school classrooms. At our June meeting, the board approved a new logo for TO Arts that will be rolled out in the fall, and here is a sneak peek at the preliminary designs. The color logos to the right are not approved colors. They simply serve as examples of how our individual program brands can be incorporated into the logo. In the first week of June, TO Arts distributed our CAP Presents programming brochure to 85,000 households featuring highlights of our upcoming season. Residence companies once again produced an insert promoting their seasons, and TO Arts paid for the cost of stuffing the insert into the brochure and for the mailing. Several additional CAP Presents shows have been added since this brochure was mailed, including engagements with MasterChef Junior Live in October and the band Switchfoot in November. In September of 2018, the board adopted an annual work plan for fiscal year 18-19. While it will take several years to implement fully some of the goals contained in the work plan, a number of tasks have been completed over the past year or are at near completion. These include approval of the Arts Education Plan, expansion of arts education programs into local classrooms, and approval of funding priorities for future programming and activities. Some of our ongoing work plan projects includes developing a brand identity and communications plan, developing interpretive content and design and a history wall capturing the last 25 years of the Civic Arts Plaza's Performing Arts Center, and planning concerts and activities to celebrate the Bank of America Performing Arts Center's 25th anniversary. And speaking of the anniversary, we hope that you'll be able to join us for the following special performances and activities in celebration of the Civic Arts Plaza's 25th anniversary. On Friday, October 4th, Curtains Up will serve as our gala celebration party with a special performance by Herb Alpert and Elani Hall. And we are also pleased to present two special anniversary concerts featuring Jackie Ivanko, backed by a string ensemble, on Saturday, October 6th, and Vanessa Williams on Friday, October 11th, in what will be her first appearance in Thousand Oaks. On behalf of the Thousand Oaks, of the TO Arts Board and staff, and the millions of patrons whose lives have been enriched by attending performances at the Bank of America Performing Arts Center, I want to thank you for your continued support of our efforts and activities. This completes our report. Our Executive Director, Barry McComb, and I are available to answer any questions that you have.
Leanne, the core purpose statement, to enrich lives and strengthen the fabric of the community. What a remarkable organization and what you've provided for our community. You have fulfilled that with half of the accomplishments any city would be proud, but with the entirety of what you've done, it's been a remarkable year, and we are so grateful, so grateful. I would be remiss that Council Member Bilda La Peña isn't here. She would sing your praises, and in her absence, I want to do her justice and just say thank you. There's other council members that want to speak, but I wanted to jump out first. Councilmember Adam, you're up.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to echo the mayor's remarks. You've all done a wonderful job. You know, in 2016, the Alliance for the Arts and the foundation merged, and with quite an effort from a lot of people, and it created TO Arts. And in the 25-year history of this theater, I don't think I've ever seen the theaters in better shape than they are today. We have $14 million in endowments sustaining the theaters. As you mentioned, an operating budget that's gone from $400,000 to $1 million, a balanced budget, which is always good. We like balanced budgets. Great, you know, that REO Speedwagon charitable concerts were fantastic. $360,000 to the borderline victims. It just shows you what these theaters are capable of and how important they are to the community. And the stuff that you do for kids is just fantastic. So everything's really come together, and that merger is really paying off. And Leanne, I want to thank you for the work that you've done. And Barry, wonderful job. Everything that we talked about during those merger talks is coming true. It's all working. The theaters are sustained, and they will continue to be a tremendous asset to this community. So thank you both. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Adam. Councilmember Engler?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just want to also jump on the bandwagon of thanking you for what you've been doing. It's a real gem in our community, this Performing Arts Center, and the things you're doing to support it. Very impressed with the naming rights for the 2 walls. Nicely done. I will point out it will take 3 or 4 of us to give you the comments that Claudia would have done. But nice job, and thank you to Barry as well.
Thank you.
Councilmember Jones?
Yeah, I'd just like to add my thanks too. I had no idea your work was so comprehensive. It was really an eye-opener. And I'd like to congratulate you on the quality of the report that you gave. And I'm looking forward to working with you, whatever I can do in the future. I appreciate your being here.
Thank you.
We have an option of receiving the report or voting on it, and I don't want to vote on it because I don't want Claudia to be absent on that vote. So we're just going to receive it. Any disagreements on the council with that? Report received. Yes.
Could I make a quick shout out to Nikki Richardson, our development director, for raising these tremendous amount of money with the history wall and the autograph wall, $250,000 apiece. And whatever isn't used in the construction, the balance will move over to our endowment fund. So tremendous job, Nikki.
Yeah,
I think Al wants you to be his fundraiser next time he runs.
Thank you so much, Leanne.
Thank you.
Bless you, dear. Item 9B, Mark Town, Community Development Director. Initiation of Municipal Code Amendment MCA 2019, update city regulation for biotech and similar uses in M1 Industrial Park Zone. Mr. Town. Is your microphone on?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This item involves the initiation of a municipal code amendment to look into biotechnology and similar uses in Thousand Oaks. The purpose of this request is to study the potential update to the city's zoning regulations and related development standards for both biotechnology and similar uses in the M1 or industrial park zone. So that's our focus as we embark on this project. The municipal code allows such amendments to be initiated by yourselves as our city council, and it is essentially a 3-step process. Initiation is the action before you tonight. Should you so choose to proceed, then this item will go to our planning commission. They will hold a hearing and make a recommendation back to you in terms of their thoughts on the update. That is likely to occur at the end of August, and then it will come back to you for your final action in early September. This idea was also brought before the City Council Ad Hoc Economic Development Committee, which is composed of the mayor and Mayor Pro Tem on June 10th, and both indicated their interest in exploring this topic. In terms of the actual analysis, it's really based on the fact that the biotechnology industry has evolved quickly, and it continues to evolve very quickly, especially in recent years. And as a result, our municipal code is essentially outdated in terms of definitions, use categories, and the process that one follows for actually permitting such uses. For example, currently in our municipal code, we have no category that is biotechnology or something similar. So when we have such an application, staff looks at it as either an experimental laboratory or a form of research and development. The concern is that research and development, for instance, is treated similarly as other manufacturing uses that are much more resource intense. These are examples straight out of our municipal code where R&D is treated the same as, for instance, tire rebuilding. Clearly, it's a different industry, it's a different activity with far fewer potential impacts than some of these other historic uses. The MCA therefore would look at several aspects of this industry, how we would classify such uses, how we would go about permitting them, looking at development standards for such uses, and then again proposing actual changes in our code. Many other cities have already undertaken this. South San Francisco and San Jose and San Diego are examples outside of Ventura County, but even inside the county, both Ventura and Oxnard have also adopted municipal code standards that more accurately reflect biotechnology as an industry. The term biotech beach has been applied to this portion of California which extends from San Diego all the way up to Ventura. Obviously, Thousand Oaks is part of this area, and Amgen has been a local leader historically in that sector in Thousand Oaks, but we continue to see interest in this area throughout the city, and as I mentioned, nearby communities have also seen interest as well. As I mentioned earlier, we are looking at the industrial park zone that spans the Rancho Conejo Industrial Park area, as well as the Rancho Conejo Specific Plan area. Those are the areas actually that are north of Amgen, north of Hillcrest Drive, but it also includes industrial park areas that are located on each side of the city. Out along Old Conejo Road, for instance, there is an M1 zone, and also on the eastern side of the city, what we call the Westlake Industrial Park area, as well along both sides of Townsgate, north of Hampshire to the 101 freeway. This request is consistent with a number of city policies, going from the largest to the most specific. It's consistent with general plan policies that encourage light industries that, as is noted here, are highly specialized, scientific or research oriented, and also that industrial development should occur in designated major complexes along the 101 freeway, and then in those areas that I just mentioned, Rancho Conejo and Westlake industrial areas as well, which would all be encompassed within the proposed MCA. It also meets a fundamental city council goal, which is, I won't read all of this in detail, but just the latter part, which notes that a fundamental goal is to diversify the local economy with a specific emphasis, I should say, on small businesses and high technology / biomedical jobs. And then finally, as you're well aware, one of your top 10 priorities for the current fiscal year is to focus on the biotech sector and related activities. So the proposed MCA meets multiple council goals. In conclusion, staff is recommending that you initiate this MCA so that we may study city zoning standards, definitions, and related issues to explicitly address this very important part of the local economy. The next steps, as I mentioned, would first start with staff research, an analysis followed by Planning Commission recommendation, and then we would bring this back to you in September for your final action. And with that, I would be happy to answer any questions. And also seated to my left is Donald Nielsen, Associate Planner, who is the case planner for this project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Town. Any questions from council? Councilmember Engler.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, Mr. Town, just a real quick question on the, I know in my mind what we're looking for here is biotech research and that sort of development. is our ordinance going to also allow biotech manufacturing or further than just development?
You know, we will actually look at both. The emphasis to this point has been on research and development, but in recent discussions with experts in the field, there's sometimes a need for a modest amount of manufacturing as a component of R&D. Other cities have broken those out into separate categories. I think it would be appropriate to study both.
I encourage, this is something we need to encourage here in town, is to create the environment whereby these companies will settle here. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Councilmember. Mayor Pro Tem Adam?
Well, if there aren't any further questions, I had a motion. Is that all right, Mayor?
There are no further questions, so your motion stands. So,
well, I just wanted to briefly say that this code is outdated, without question. Right now, the way it reads is it doesn't differentiate with biotech uses, which are usually benign, with more heavy industry uses like plastic manufacturing and tire rebuilding. So, yeah, we need to take a little closer look at this. As it stands now, biotech company will have to come in and file for a special use permit in our industrial parks, and that hurdle is just not necessary. So we need to define the use, and the Planning Commission will do that and then bring it back to us. And because after all, as you said, one of the council priorities is to encourage biotech industry here in the city of Thousand Oaks, and this will help do that. So I'd like to make a motion for that we pass 9B, initiate the municipal code amendment for biotech in the industrial park zone.
thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Adam. Madam Clerk, will you prepare the vote?
The motion carries 4-0 with Councilmember Bill De La Pena absent.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Now we have the great privilege to have Dr. Karen Gorbach, the chair of the Council on Aging, for the annual report. Welcome. Thank you for all your hard work and everything you do.
Well, thank you very much. And again, my name is Karen Gorbach, and I'm the outgoing chair of the Thousand Oaks Council on Aging. And good evening, Mayor and City Council members and staff. And as my last official duty, I'm here this evening to present you with our annual report. And it's been delightful working with the dedicated men and women on the Council on Aging. And together we accomplished the annual objectives delineated in City Resolution 2010-081. And I would like to publicly thank them. I'll just take a minute to thank each of them by name. I'd like to thank Vice Chair Loretta Allen, who also keeps us up to date on health-related issues. Program Chair Donna Mortimer. Senior of the Year Chair Terry Maria. Goebel Center Liaison John Posta. Our California Senior Legislature Assembly Member Tony Gitt. Outreach Chair Stephanie Belding. Commissioner Jeff Burt, who keeps us up to date on scams and frauds. Commissioner Stephen Allen, who reports on caregiving issues. And one of the hardest ladies I've ever had the pleasure of working with, our city liaison, Francine Spriegel, without whom nothing happens. And congratulations to Jeff and John, who were reappointed for 2-year terms per your consent calendar this evening. Congratulations also to Rosanna Guerra and Karen Sylvester, appointed this evening on your consent calendar to their first terms on the commission. Through everyone's work, we utilized our monthly televised meetings to provide the community with boatloads of information, including research on nutrition and supplements, the latest innovations in heart surgery, objective information on reverse mortgages, information on living wills and trusts, emergency preparedness, educational opportunities, transportation options, frauds and scams, county resources, caregiving, and other topics of special interest to individuals as they age. Along with the telecast, we reached out into the community, both electronically through the Conejo Connections database and physically by our presence at the Wellness Fest and at locations throughout the city, documenting contacts with more than 230 individuals. Our program year ended on June 13th with the Senior of the Year Award Banquet. Congratulations to Ricky Mickelson, the 2019 Senior of the Year, for her years and years and years of service to our community. In conclusion, I just would like to note that this is a really exciting time in California to work in the area of advocacy for older adults. As you know, Governor Newsom recently signed an executive order directing the state's Health and Human Services Agency to convene a cabinet-level work group to advise the Secretary of State in developing and issuing a master plan on aging by October 2020. Among many other things, the executive order reminds us that policies that promote healthy aging require actively engaging with older adults as contributors to the social, economic, and civic fabric of our communities. Like that. So as I personally take on new challenges and responsibilities, I want to thank you for the opportunity I have had to serve the City Council and the citizens of beautiful Thousand Oaks. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gorback. And thank you for all you do and for all of you. Thank you for your tireless efforts. Well, that brings us to item 13, City Manager follow-up. Mr. Powers?
Thanks so much, Mayor McCoy. As mentioned several times this evening, this is our last meeting before the summer recess. Our next meeting is scheduled for the 27th of August, and currently working on agenda items for that evening, but we know we'll have our Municipal Energy Action Plan and an update on our 2019 pavement management program. I'm sure there'll be more items to follow, but that's it for this time. Hope everyone has a wonderful, relaxing summer recess.
Thank you, Mr. Powers. Tonight we're going to be adjourning in memory of a distinguished community member, Tim Hibbard, who passed away May 29th. Tim Hibbard was a longtime resident of Newbury Park and owner of Bathcrest West, where he was known for 33 years as Ventura County's tub man. Tim was a graduate of Moore Park College and attended UC Berkeley on a football scholarship. He served with the U.S. Navy during the Vietnam War on the destroyer USS Tomlinson and completed his reserve years playing football for the Navy. After his military service, Tim received a degree from California State University Northridge, as well as a teaching credential, and was a coach and teacher at Kalina Middle School in Thousand Oaks. Tim was an active motorcycle enthusiast and was honored to carry the American flag for Ride to the Flags, the memorial honoring the 9/11 victims. Tim also volunteered in rebuilding Burris, Louisiana after Hurricane Katrina, working tirelessly to restore a church and surrounding community devastated by the hurricane. Tim was active in Thousand Oaks by assisting homeless individuals through food donations and helping some find shelter for the night, including paying for their hotel rooms. Tim Hubbard was a genuine community asset with his great smile and warm heart, and our deepest condolences to his wife Laura, his 3 daughters, friends, and family during this difficult time. And as the mayor of the city of Thousand Oaks, this is a wonderful man whom we are going to miss. And so tonight we close in memory of Tim Hibbard. Our next meeting will be August 27th, and that concludes the night. God bless you all.